Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, I'm ready to get started, but listen, that Bigfoot's been bugging me. All day he's been coming out of the woods waving, and I don't know what to do about the guy. Oh, there he is. Hold on. Yeah, he's got something in his hand. I think it's beer. I gotta go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Our Drunken History. Tonight we're doing an episode that I don't even want to do because it's been my biggest fear ever since I was a little kid. Tonight we are covering Bigfoot. We're coming to you live from my living room because the shed is fucking hot.
Yeah, it was a nice balmy 108 in there, so we decided to bring it into Zach's living room. Yeah, Bigfoot's one of those things. It seems like everybody's got a story, whether you believe it or not believe it. There's always usually some pretty good stories involved with it. It's kind of like everything else. Some of those stories can get debunked pretty easy, but then there's some that there's nothing that you can quite explain about them. So hopefully we can cover a few things that maybe will make believers out of some, and maybe some that you might dispel some rumors a little bit.
We'll chase you away.
Yeah,
like Bigfoot would.
Make you scared of the dark at night.
We also on the show tonight. We got my buddy Ace, my eyeless Shih Tzu. He's 75 years old. He got no eyes, can't see shit. It's like little Roomba running around the house.
Just bumps into stuff all the time.
And he's got the opposite of big feet.
So tonight, sticking with our theme of Bigfoot and Sasquatch, the Skunk Ape, the Yeti,
all those nicknames,
all the different whatever other. There's tons of
Orang Pendak. We got stories on a couple of them. So get out of here. Go lay down. Go lay down, fucking retard. Go lay down.
It seems like they're all over the world. No matter where you go or no matter where you research, there is a story of a Bigfoot-like creature, and some of them are big, and then some of them are kind of small. So it just depends on the part of the world that you're seeing the story from.
I just want to apologize in advance. We are doing this in my living room, and I have 6 dogs, and they're all inside dogs, and not a one of them has manners.
Kind of attention whores.
They're going to be in and out of the frame the whole night.
But that's the way dogs are supposed to be. So
that's Ace. That's Huck.
You'll see some others.
There's more running around.
So our first beer to review tonight is what is this?
This is Rogue Breweries, which is what we had last week too. We had Rogue Dead Guy.
The Dead Guy.
This is Rogue's Squatch. It's a hazy India Pale Ale IPAs.
We talked a lot of shit about IPAs last week too.
We did. This one has a little saying on the back. It says, "For years, rumors have circled that deep in the woods of Mount St. Helens lives the fabled Bat Squatch. Where there are many tales of Bat Squatch, they are all a bit hazy on the details, which makes the truth such a juicy mystery. So what better way to honor the legend than with a hazy, juicy IPA, perfect for camping and potentially making a new friend." It is definitely an IPA. It's not the worst I've had. I don't know that I could sit down and drink 10 of these, but one ain't hurting me.
Yeah, some of the IPAs are really bitter. This one has more of the citrus grapefruit.
Juicy.
You can definitely get the grapefruit smell, and then the grapefruit aftertaste or the finish to it.
Yeah.
And as far as IPAs goes, I'm usually not a fan, but this isn't too bad.
Yeah, I'm not having a problem with this at all. I don't mind it.
It really almost reminds me of a grapefruit shandy. Have you had any of those before?
I have not.
Well, we're going to do an episode on Line and Kugels at some point. Line and Kugels, if you're watching, I sent you a message to sponsor a video. They have a grapefruit shandy.
Yeah, check your email, bro.
But yeah, this isn't bad at all.
No, and this is the second Rogue beer that we've done. And I gotta say, so far, I am not disappointed. Rogue, you guys are hitting it out of the park with your flavor here.
Yeah, not bad at all.
No, like we said, neither one of us is an IPA fan, but I'm not bitching. This ain't bad.
Well, so what do you want to get into first with our Bigfoot lore, the legends, the myths?
Well, I don't want to get into any of it because I don't care much for Bigfoot. But let's just give an overall. What do you think Bigfoot is? Bigfoot is, for all intents and purposes, like a fucking 9 foot tall, hairy ape-like creature that lives wherever you live in the world, and there's legends all over. But Travis, on a personal level with no research, give me your rundown of what Bigfoot is.
What Bigfoot is?
What do you think of do you think Bigfoot is or is not real? And if you do, give me a synopsis of your opinion.
Well, I think really anything is possible. And when I look at it is I don't know. I really kind of think that there's a possibility that there could be a lost or undiscovered large primate that has evaded sightings and capture. And so I think there could be a possibility that in the Pacific Northwest, where it's very desolately populated, in the jungles of Southwest Asia or Southeast Asia, and where you get the orang-pendek myths coming from.
So you think that there's more than one?
There could be, because orang-pendek is a small...
Well, more than one species, but I mean more than one. Like, people talk about Bigfoot, not big feet, not big foots. There's no plural with it. Like,
right.
There's not just one ape guy running around in the mountains,
well,
right? There's a...
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there has to be more than one, because these stories go back hundreds of years.
Maybe it's just real aged.
Really old. And then there's some primates that live to be old age. But there has to be a breeding population of them in order for people to keep seeing them over the course of 100 years. There are some primates like orangutans that are known to be solitary creatures. Like, you get gorillas and chimpanzees, they're more communal. They live in families.
Mm-hmm.
But orangutan,
they call it I didn't know this. They call it a community.
A community
is the official term for, it's not a family of whatever primate, it's a community.
You know what a community of baboons is called? It kind of fitting.
A fucking mob?
A congress.
Really?
Congress, and so that's kind of fitting for our Congress.
I would have said mob, but Congress works. It's fitting, for sure.
A bunch of baboons.
Wipe your red asses, you motherfuckers. Figure shit out.
Yeah. But yeah, I think so. Orangutans, they only usually come together to mate, and they usually spend the whole rest of their time in solitary.
Have you ever seen an orangutan in person?
Yeah. I've been to a couple different zoos that had them. I was trying to think. I think there was one. I went to it was like a nature preserve where they had them where they had a big area where they could free roam and stuff. And they say even out in the wild though, they're very curious when they see humans come around. They're friendly and they're curious and want to kind of hang out and see how they.
I went to the San Juan, Puerto Rico Zoo.
Yeah.
On vacation down there one time, and there was an orangutan, and it was like a sub-adult, I believe they're called, like a teenager.
Yeah.
And he was hanging from like a cargo net that they had, and he was chilling, and he shot a stream of spit between his front teeth,
like somebody spit and chew
at me. He did not want me around.
Did he give you the big old grin too that they do?
Yeah, he didn't get me. I had a fun fact. I'm the only person I know that has ever been shit on by a hippo.
Well,
at that same zoo, hippos, when they shit, they wag their tail and it just flings dingleberries all over. And one landed on my foot.
I've had a shovel hippo shit before. So
go on.
On a deployment, we were in Ethiopia. And part of when we get ready in the morning for the aircraft to take off, we had to go do a runway sweep, like a FOD walk. If anybody's ever been in the military for a FOD
is foreign object and debris. Forward object debris. So basically anything that's not aircraft, like anything from like sticks and rocks can be FOD, but also anything up to like wrenches and screwdrivers can also be FOD. But Travis' case, it was a dingleberry.
A big old bushel berries.
Just a turd.
But yeah, so the hippos, we had a fence around the flight line, but the hippos pushed it down. And we would have to go do a runway check every day before flying to make sure there was no wildlife on the runways. We had a problem with baboons.
Yeah.
We had a problem with crocodiles getting on the runway. It's like hitting a tree.
That'd blow tires.
Yeah, they'd get out there and sunbathe on the damn runway. And then hippos would come out at night and they would shit all over the runway. So we'd have to go out there with snow shovels and shovel off the runway.
No, you're the only dudes using snow shovels in all of Ethiopia.
Yeah. And shovel off the hippo shit off the runway. So yeah, that was my wildlife wrangling and
some people deployed and kicked indoors, and other people deployed and shoveled shit with snow shovels.
Yeah, so
take that, Delta.
There's always those dirty jobs.
SEAL Team 6.
But it was fun. We would chase the hippos around at night in the bobtail or in the golf cart with a spotlight and chase them off the runway so aircraft could land.
That's pretty cool.
But okay, so going back, we're already off on a tangent. We're not even 10 minutes into the video.
No.
So Bigfoot. So looking at some of the history and the lore, there's tribes all over the world of natives that have some sort of story of an ape man or ape-like type creature.
And he's always big.
And there's most of them are big, and the descriptions, depending on where you look, they're anywhere from 6 to 10 feet tall or bigger. But it's crazy because even there's hieroglyphs or they call it petroglyphs in some of the native caves and on rocks in the western U.S. that depict a creature that some people would call a Bigfoot. And we'll stick a picture of this up on the video. They're big, giant, hairy-looking creatures that these indigenous Americans put on these cave paintings, and really nobody knows what they are. Some people say that they're gods or a depiction of a spirit, but it really looks like a Bigfoot. So that kind of leaves it up in interpretation. But out of, I think they said in the last 100 years, there's been over 10,000 Bigfoot sightings across the United States, and over half of them have been in the Pacific Northwest. In the northwest United States, and then the southwest region of Canada, and the
Oregon, Washington, the Panhandle of Idaho, Yak Valley, Montana, up into British Columbia, and that. They're the vast majority of sightings is all kind of concentrated in that area, but there are also sightings all over the Ozarks, here in Arkansas and in Oklahoma. There are sightings in Texas, down in the swamps of Florida. It's not a one environment type of creature, which is fitting because, as we had stated in a previous episode, mountain lions. You can't pick a geographic location for a mountain lion because they're everywhere.
They're one of the
from Alaska down to the southern tip of South America. They can live in swamps. They can live on mountains. They can live in forests, anywhere you want. They not only do they survive, they thrive. So and people say that Bigfoot ain't real because you haven't seen him. Man, I have spent more time in the woods than anybody I know, besides probably my father. I've seen one mountain lion.
Well, and that's the thing too. Yeah, around here, there's been stories for years of mountain lions, and they know 100 years ago mountain lions did live in Arkansas, but they said they were hunted out and they weren't here anymore. But I've heard stories for the last 20 years about mountain lions. Nobody had ever seen one. We said that people say they heard them. Well, now, just in the last couple of years, people are starting to get them on their trail cameras, on their game cameras, and it's actually proved that people were right. They were here and they're seeing mountain lions. So, and they're an elusive creature too. So I mean, people spend time in the woods and don't see them. The thing is, people are noisy. When you go out in the woods, you're not very. You think you might be being quiet, but you're not quiet.
And beyond that, you stink. Like, you may think that Dove or whatever you rocking in the shower smells great, but to animals, they detect you and then they leave the area. So if you are wearing whatever axe,
yeah, they're going to smell you or hear you before you
go the other way,
and you'll never even see them.
So for people to say that because you never see them, they don't see you, whatever, they ain't real,
yeah,
you're wrong. So there are several names for Bigfoot around the world. Now, Bigfoot in most of North America is just called Bigfoot, right? Everybody knows the name Bigfoot. They associate it, and Bigfoot has a following. I mean, there's a monster truck named after Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But also in North America, specifically the Pacific Northwest, they use the term Sasquatch, and that comes from the Salish Sasquatch Native Americans. The Algonquin that lived kind of in the central north of North America.
Yeah.
They knew him as the Witico or the Wendigo. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of Wendigo, but Wendigo is a big Native American fable, basically, I guess, if you want to call it that. That he follows you to your camp and steals your soul.
Okay.
Yeah. The Ojibwe of the Northern Plains called it the Regaroo. The Pacific Northwest also called it the Skookum, which is a term that my uncle still uses. He lives out in Washington. He calls it the Skookum. In Missouri, they call it the Momo. In Australia, they have one called the Yowie.
The Yowie, yeah, I saw that one, yeah.
In the Himalayas, Bhutan, China, India, Nepal, Russia, it's Yeti. Also in areas of China, they call it the Yeren. Down in Indonesia, Borneo, Sumatra, they call it the Orang Pendek. And the Bukit Timah monkey man in Singapore.
Oh, okay.
Is what they call it. And the Japanese army that had kind of fought down there through the Asiatic War period, into World War II, there were several reported sightings from Japanese soldiers.
Really? I did not know that.
Yes. Yeah. So the stories go back, essentially prehistory up until today. And every nation, every environment, there's a story of a creature, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, one of the things that always comes to mind, because here in Arkansas, so in the southeast, I think it's more predominant in like the Mississippi Valley area and in Alabama. They had the story of the Skunk Ape.
So what I had read was Skunk Ape is primarily the southeast.
Yeah.
But here in Arkansas, they actually have one specific subgenre, maybe.
Yeah.
They call the Fouke monster.
Oh yeah, in the Ouachitas on the Fouke River.
Yes.
Down there. Yeah. The thing I thought interesting about the Skunk Ape was it, unrelated to Bigfoot, in Florida right now there is a group, I can't remember what species they are, but there was a group of monkeys that, I don't know if they escaped captivity. I don't know if they were part of a research program or if they were
I had read about this.
But these monkeys,
macaques. They were macaques, okay. I believe.
Well, they have basically the climate is ideal for them there in Florida where they're at, and they have thrived. They've reproduced. There's hundreds of them down there.
Boots.
And so there's a lot of scientists actually say that the southeast climate is very conducive to habitat for a primate.
Have you been down to Florida, Georgia, Alabama area? It's very jungle-like.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
If you go through one of the airboat tours down in Louisiana and Mississippi, where it's just jungle, like you said, humid, hot, plenty of water, plenty of cover, and they said food. Then there's no, other than alligators, there's not any large predators that could take out a primate of decent size. So they're saying even a skunk ape may not be a Bigfoot, but it could be a group of chimpanzees or a group of gorillas that have escaped. And because they said if they're living down there in the Southwest, they're going to stink and smell. and
Yeah.
you're going to get that
Every person I know
that
down there does.
noticeable that the odor that they always talk. They say these skunk apes, you can smell them like they've been there and they rub up on trees and leave a smell and stuff. So it may not be Bigfoot, but it may legitimately be a primate, a large gorilla, or
it's not surprising.
Yeah, of some kind.
And it's weird because a lot of I don't put a lot of credence into most stories. Most stories can be explained, but some can't.
Yeah.
So when you come up with like I saw Bigfoot down here, an extinct chimpanzee is like a pretty valid explanation. Like in all right, like you wouldn't expect to see it. You probably see a fleeting glance. It's a big bowed up looking.
Well, and chimpanzees and gorillas have been known to walk upright for short distances.
Yeah.
So I could see where something like that could be, especially if you're scared or if the lighting is weird. If it's
right, yeah. There's a million explanations.
Yeah.
But I have to say in my own person, because I grew up going into the woods a lot and not by as the crow flies miles, not stupid far from the Pacific Northwest. It's not that far fetched to me. The areas of there's an area up in Montana.
You got to bring up Montana.
Always got to bring it up. It's the best place.
There's always a way to segue into Montana.
I'm gonna do it every episode. Just get ready. No, there's an area up there. It's called the Dearborn Wilderness, and the Dearborn Wilderness is the largest area in the lower 48 states without a road, and it borders other areas that are technically a wilderness, like the Scapegoat Wilderness.
Yeah.
So you get to several hundred, thousands of square miles that there's no road. They're like you're hiking in. There is an airstrip up there called Schaefer Meadows that you can fly into. But I mean, it's not an airport; it's an airstrip. It's a dirt runway. It's like you're still in the fucking woods.
Yeah, it's still like 20 miles from anything.
Yeah, like you're in the shit. Like as soon as you land and get out of your plane, you're in the wilderness.
Yeah,
yeah. You're not. It's not Delta. You're in it. But anyway, there's more bears in there, and I wanted to talk about this.
Yeah,
there's more bears in there than any other part of the United States outside of Alaska. There is, of course, British Columbia. Yukon territories that are more heavily populated by bears. But when you get into they call it the Bob up there. When you get in, you can sit down like on a hillside or whatever and just glass with your binoculars, and you will see several bears.
Yeah,
like they're all over.
There's more bears in that area than people.
Well, yeah. So sadly, if you're a hiker, you stand a good chance of getting your leg chewed on.
That just shows, though, how there are still places. You think of the United States, and you think of places like New York City or Los Angeles where, there's millions of people, but there's also places in the U.S. that there are absolutely no people. And you take that wilderness like that where there's literally more grizzly bears than there are people. That's a place where an animal that could possibly go undiscovered.
Well, the big argument that I've always heard is, how many times have you, and I have spent more hours in the woods than anybody I know. How many dead bears have I come across? None.
Yeah.
I've never come across a dead bear. But I know bears exist because I've seen live bears. I've seen a lot of fucking live bears.
You might find, you just think of how many deer there are. I've seen a deer skull every once in a while, but even deer.
Go down the road, they're all over.
Well, yeah, right next to the road. But out in the wilderness, if something dies in the woods, within a few days, it gets eaten by something. There's scavengers of all kinds and all shapes and sizes that take care of that thing, and that's how the kind of circle of life and the nature goes. So the argument, I think, for not finding a dead body is kind of moot because...
Well, beyond that, there is also a standing rumor that Big Feet, maybe, is what it's pronounced? I don't know.
Bigfoots?
Sasquatches, that they bury their dead.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah,
and there are, as much as you can skepticize this, humans are not the only animals that bury their dead. There are documented cases of primates burying dead. There are documented cases of elephants burying their dead. There are also documented cases of dogs burying their dead.
Really, I did not know that. That is.
Now there's also argument that the dog are just burying their dead to eat later, but I mean they still bury them.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I mean, I think too there's more that we don't know than what we do know, and trying to make any kind of concrete conclusions is the wrong idea, because
the possibility is always going to be there.
Yeah.
Growing up, and still till this day, criticize all you want, my biggest fear in the world is Bigfoot. So I grew up in the woods a lot. I camped all the time with my dad. And my dad's a big dude. He's like 6'5", probably 250, 260. He's got relatively long hair. It's like shoulder length hair. He's got a beard. And my dad, always growing up, used to wear this sweatshirt that he got. I remember when he bought it in Yellowstone National Park, one of the gift shops.
It's a big brown hairy shirt.
It's red, but it's faded red, so like it's kind of brownish now. And my dad and I, you know, we would always go fishing when I was growing up. And I remember times like coming on a river bend and seeing my dad like downstream fishing and be like, for a fleeting moment, my dad became Bigfoot. So like I said, my dad's 6'5". Like when he walks through the woods, he lumbers.
Yeah.
So I can see where somebody who saw him for a moment could say, I saw him.
Yeah, you just think of somebody.
I saw Ron. No, it's Bigfoot.
Yeah. You see somebody that's wearing camo or a set of coveralls or something like that. They may look like that. And I think the vast majority of the sightings are something like that, false identity. You know, there's always the way to explain, like, it's a bear or some other animal, or even seeing another person. And I think most of the encounters, people's imaginations get the better of them seeing that. Like you're saying, you see a glance and you see your dad in the distance, even though you know that's your dad.
Yeah.
For that split second.
For that moment, it's like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
So, my question is, now, today, we all have camera phones. We all have some way of taking a picture or recording, whatever. Why are there all these blurry pictures?
Well,
do you attribute it to adrenaline? Like, no one's taking that moment to, you know, 2 fingers zoom in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that could be a lot, because that they always say, we was talking about a while ago, you know, they smell you or see you coming, and so they're running away. So maybe that's part of a Bigfoot sees you or hears you coming, so we're only getting a split second chance to take that photograph. So maybe just those fleeting seconds trying to get a phone up or trying to get a camera up.
I try to take pictures of my dogs.
Yeah.
And they all come up blurry.
Yeah, because they're constantly moving. Animals don't sit still.
No.
But, you know, we was talking a few weeks ago about a hunting trip. We may have to make sure we take some good camera equipment with us. We'll have to record the podcast while we're on the hunting trip.
We're planning an elk hunt.
But we might have to see if we can catch Bigfoot on camera.
Not doing it.
Yeah, we'll do it.
I want to stay the fuck.
I'll bring some game cameras and we'll set up some camera traps.
I'm going to Denny's.
Going to Denny's. You don't want to sit out there and make some Bigfoot calls?
I don't want to meet Bigfoot. So I'm going to tell you guys a story, and it's about me as a little kid. And when I was a little kid, my dad's house is a typical Billings, Montana house. Like, there's a basement, there's the walk-in room. I don't know, it's not upstairs, but a main floor, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever. The basement doesn't count on the square footage, so it's like technically like a 900 square foot house, right? Like, it's a normal, whatever. And I used to, when I got into junior high, I moved downstairs, but up until then I stayed upstairs. And I used to have this fucking same nightmare over and over and over. And there used to be this show on TV. It was called Tales from the Dark Side. Have you seen it?
I saw that. That was creepy. Just the intro, the music and stuff.
That's what I was in the intro, where everything is like these black and white, like ash colored trees.
And the dude had like a really ominous, like creepy voice too. Yeah.
So anyway, so I had this. Like I used to have this dream. There's a place, and it's I don't know, 12, 15 miles east of Billings. It's called Huntley. It's a town. Probably not even that. Probably 8, 10 miles. But anyway, there's a dam out there called Huntley Diversion Dam. And I used to go fishing there when I was a kid for these fish called a ling. And they're like a freshwater cod.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, we used to go out. We used to fish for them at night. And I used to have this nightmare, that my dad and I would be out there and we'd be fishing. And it was like a third-person view. And it was like Bigfoot would come in from the back and like push the trees to the side.
Oh man!
And like walk up. And me and my dad are facing the riverbank.
Yeah.
And he would just walk up behind us, and all the trees looked like the trees from that show from the intro.
Yeah.
And then I would wake up.
Oh man! So do you think? So you think you had these dreams when you were a kid because of you heard other stories and like they freaked you out?
I honestly watched a lot of National Geographic, and a lot of Discovery Channel as a kid. I've always been kind of
the Jack Hanna nature show.
I was always a nerdy kid.
Yeah,
so like I watched a lot of these shows growing up, and I got it in my head that this shit was real, and it is. And I guess I would have these nightmares, whatever, and I specifically remember one time when I woke up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I had to pee, and I walked to my door, my bedroom door, my dad's bedroom door, and the bathroom door were right here, right? And I remember like coming from my bed and going around the corner to the door and looking out, and the kitchen was over here.
Yeah.
And the kitchen was those trees.
Oh no!
from Tales from the Dark Side, and I ran back and I pissed my bed.
So I'm not going in that.
And I was like 17. No, not really. No,
that was last week, wasn't it? You were there to visit.
Yeah, before I got up today.
Yeah.
No, it was. I was like probably 8, 9, whatever.
Oh man.
Yeah. So anyway,
that's crazy how like you know when you're a kid, your imagination can really get the better of you sometimes like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I had mine wasn't Bigfoot when I was a kid. It was aliens. I think I was going to get abducted by aliens, and that's a whole nother episode too.
Yeah, we'll go down that rabbit hole.
That might be like 3 episodes. I could go all day on aliens. I think.
What if they're related?
Okay, so that, and I'll just make this statement because I don't really feel much merit in it but if you've seen the History Channel series Ancient Aliens. I thought it was a really good series, probably the first 2 seasons, and then it really went off the deep end. But they actually had an episode where they said Sasquatch or Bigfoot was an alien, and I think that's a little far fetched. I'd rather believe that Bigfoot is an actual Earth primate that hasn't been discovered versus some alien, because I mean maybe Wookiees do exist and. And maybe that was Chewbacca out there that they saw running around in the woods, but I think the ancient aliens went a little too far when they associated Bigfoot with it. And I'll just leave that right there.
But that one dude's got such great hair.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're going to get into the portion of our show where we talk about Bigfoot sightings, of which there are tens of thousands of Bigfoot sightings around the world. And of course, like we said, there are a million names. We're going to stick with Bigfoot because it's the most common. But also, several companies have based their name on this.
Well, it's became a whole industry, really.
It has. You got Bigfoot monster trucks, you got Yeti coolers, you got
the Harry and the Hendersons movie was made.
John Lithgow, good job, man.
That was like one of his first big movies that he came. I think
my dog looks kind of like Harry.
So it's a industry now, I think too. So
yeah, we're gonna drink this Bigfoot barley wine style ale. Travel put the label up for you guys.
Yeah, so it's from Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. So the a lot of these sightings come from the Sierra Nevada mountain range in Northern California, and also in the Pacific Northwest as well. So
actually, the most famous sighting ever of Bigfoot comes from, and it's a very famous film actually. It's called the Patterson Gimlin film. It's from a little place in California, Northern California, called Bluff Creek, in 1967. Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin were a couple of buddies, and they were on horseback, and they were up in the woods in California, and they were actually, as luck would have it, trying to film a Bigfoot documentary.
Yeah, and I think that's where some of the skeptics came into play with this film, is because they said that's what they were there to film. And so how lucky or how coincidental it could be for them to film that. But when you get into some of the details of that, we'll get into some more details.
You can argue both sides for sure. So Roger Patterson. I'll say this: frame 352
is
the most famous image of Bigfoot ever taken, and it's been analyzed, and no one can prove that it is a hoax. I mean,
and we'll put this picture up of that frame of the video. There's 59 seconds of video that they recorded.
If you look at the picture without us saying anything, and without you ever watching a show about it, you see a brown, whatever, hairy animal. But I will break this down for you. There are several analysts that have looked at this picture, and it was on fucking 8mm tape or whatever it was.
Yeah, but there's been the good thing now with the way technology is advanced, they have taken this video and enhanced it and broke it down frame by frame, and had special effects experts review the video, costume experts, even anthropologists and primate experts review this video, and it still has not to this day been debunked.
One of the things that is the most telling in it, and also something that not only is hard to fake, but something that would take somebody with a very imaginative mind to come up with, is the animal has a mammary gland. It has a breast, which most Bigfoot people don't even. That's not even in their imagination. Is that we're going to show a female Bigfoot with a breast?
Yeah,
and this Patterson Gimlin film shows,
and they said right off the bat that there was a female. They called it Patty I think it was short for Patterson.
Patterson, yes.
But they right off from the get-go said it was a female Bigfoot or female Sasquatch that they saw, based off of that.
So Roger Patterson died of cancer in 1972. The guy didn't have a chance to defend himself.
Yeah.
But Bob, and he was known as kind of a prankster, as he liked to go for the big stories, whatever. The guy, he was adventurous, we'll say.
Yeah.
But Bob Gimlin, on the other hand, was kind of just an everyday guy, but was very well known as being a straight shooter, an honest person, not someone to spin a tall tale. And Gimlin has, till this day, denied ever being part of any hoax.
Yeah.
He has said if Roger Patterson was playing a hoax on him, he took a lot of liberty in that risk, because they were both carrying guns.
Yeah.
They were both, they were. It would have been a stupid fucking move to wear a giant ape suit in the woods when someone's standing there with a rifle.
Well, yeah.
That's not you don't do that.
And that would have been a pretty elaborate ruse to carry out if Patterson was in on it and Gimlin wasn't.
Yeah.
So
sorry, guys. I got a call from my dad. We had to pause for a second. So back to the Patterson Gimlin film. It's been analyzed by everybody from Universal Studios to Nike.
Yeah.
And there's a consensus opinion that it could be faked, but it would be so extremely elaborate to do that. And to not only do it now, today, but to do it with 1967 technology. So you would have to create a whole new type of suit to wear. The Planet of the Apes movies didn't compete. Nothing competed with the muscle tone and the movement and the natural gait of the creature in the film. Nike, as I stated, what was the guy's name? One of the
talking about like the suit, or if it was a suit. The Planet of the Apes movie, the famous one was the original Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston. It came out a couple years after this film was filmed. And we'll stick a picture of some of these costumes up from that Planet of the Apes movie. That they were kind of cheesy looking compared. And this is a movie with a very large production budget that could spend the money on making these costumes correctly. And so the costume experts of that time had never seen this realism in a suit or a costume before, so that lends more credence toward it could be possibly real, just from the way this animal, this creature in the film moved.
Yeah, Gordon Valiant was the guy's name that worked for Nike. He was one of their lead shoe designers, and he they spend all their damn money analyzing people's feet because they predominantly make shoes. And he said that whatever creature it was made completely unhuman movements.
Well, in that because they had kinesiology doctorate analyzed the gait and the movements, and they said it looked natural and it looks like steps from. They even when they took pictures, they took another film of the footprints themselves, and the footprints were shaped in a way that looked like they carried the proper load. It wasn't like somebody wearing a big shoe or whatever.
So people always say, well, it's amazing that these guys went to go film a documentary on Bigfoot and found Bigfoot. But it makes sense if you think about it in a way that they went to where there had been these Bigfoot sightings shortly before that, and then they found Bigfoot. So yeah, if you're a documentary filmmaker, if you're a war correspondent, whatever, you go where the action is. They showed up there and they
went to an area where there had been numerous sightings before. Yeah,
so you can say they faked it, whatever. But what you can also say, if you're a proponent of their film, they went where the area where the guy was and said, "Oh shit, here he is."
Yeah,
and it was a 53-second clip, I believe, is all they got, but it's the most important piece of Bigfoot evidence in history.
One other thing that really caught my eye with that film, and for YouTube, we might be able to try to put the actual video of this up on YouTube so you can see it. But one of the things that really stood out to me was the sunlight hitting the fur on this suit. And if you looked at any kind of animals,
he calls it a suit. It's not. It's the flesh.
Not a suit. Yeah. you see the sunlight hitting this animal or this creature, whatever you want to call it. If you look at another animal, even a gorilla in nature, like take for instance a silverback gorilla. Their hair is kind of a dark color, but then when the sunlight hits it, it shines that gray silver color. You get a shine from the sunlight hitting it. This video and this creature, when it moved through that clearing and the sunlight hit it in certain areas, you could get a sheen from the fur on this.
Good word usage.
And back then too, the synthetic hair or fibers or whatever they used.
Would they say Dylon or something was the name of the?
You could not create that
whatever thing they said was possibly it, and it's just not.
Yeah, and if sunlight hit that, it was still like a matte color. It wouldn't reflect and shine in the sun like a natural hair would. So, and then also the way the animal moved, you could actually pick out. I really looked at the thighs and the calves of this when it was walking. You could actually see muscles flex and bend. In the video, they zoomed in on it, and you could actually see their muscles of the legs.
I was looking at the tit.
Yeah. So I mean, And a lot of the costume experts are saying, you know, that hair would have to be glued to your skin in order to be able to see.
The way that it flowed, right?
To be able to see muscle movement and muscle flex and tone through the fur. Like you look at a racehorse, even though they're covered with hair.
Yeah, the way that their muscles move.
You can see their muscles flex and move. And that's how this animal or this depiction in this film, it actually, you could see its muscles through the hair on this. So it's...
So let me ask you this. Do you believe that Bigfoot, Yeti, whatever you want to call it, is an aggressive creature?
No. I think if it's aggressive, there is, so there's another altercation we can get into here in a little bit too after this, but I think for the most part, no. You even think of animal, like even a grizzly bear, most of the time they want to be left alone. And yeah, the grizzly attacks happen, but usually it's because a human has came in and got into their territory or provoked it in some way. And usually grizzlies are solitary creatures that keep to themselves. Usually people don't even run into them. So I think it's a type of creature that doesn't seek out any kind of altercations in any way. It's just like...
What are your opinions on the Dyatlov Pass?
I don't know if I know about that one.
You do. It's the Russians.
Oh, the Russian one. That one, I don't know about that one because that one I think leans more towards aliens than Bigfoot.
Really?
Yeah, because of the radiation and stuff they'd found.
They did find radiation on their place. One of the theories is a Yeti attack.
And I think it's possible because they...
What about a Yeti alien?
A Yeti alien. That's the whole Ancient Aliens is right with that. Yeah.
Yeah, they got it right.
We'll have to let's do a show on that because that...
just on that
episode.
Oh, I'm down.
Because that was a creepy story and I think that deserves its own show.
I'll have my dad read the whole book about it. I'll have him send it. Because I'm a book nerd. I read a lot of shit, so I'll read the book and then I'll do it.
That is a very interesting story and there's a lot of information to cover in that. So I think that deserves
we'll do that one. That's a good one. And we'll drink vodka.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking Russian.
More of that pickle vodka, maybe?
I mean, I'm down. But I'm down to Blake Shelton. You're based here in Fort Smith. Give us some of your vodka, bro.
We need to go. We need to do a tour of Smithworks. And maybe old Blake.
Yeah, that's a good... Yeah, I like it.
Can give us a sponsorship.
Let's do that. Let's get on the Bigfoot one before. Blake will hit you up.
Yeah, we'll be looking for our message. We'll hit you up on Twitter.
Yeah.
So, are we still on the Patterson film? I think
we pretty much covered that.
I think we covered it. It is a very compelling
Well, the thing
film.
is, it's not disputable. Like you can come up with these off the cuff disputes, but when you break it down to the science of what was going on in that, you can't come up with one thing that says it's not true. You can say all you want, well, likely, whatever, but you just can't disprove it.
I think the main thing with me is with that film, there are experts that are way more qualified than I am that have analyzed this video backwards and forwards, frame by frame. And if they can't discredit it, and if they can't say it's a hoax, then I think it could be definitely plausible for it to be an authentic video. If the world experts in this stuff can't say it's fake, then who am I to say it's fake?
Well, so Bob Gimlin has just recently started going to these Bigfoot conferences and telling his story.
Yeah, for years he didn't want to have any part of it.
No, because it bothered him, and I get it. Like, yeah. I do. I just think like some people want celebrity. Obviously, we have a YouTube channel. We want your celebrity.
Yeah.
But Bob doesn't. And he wanted to be left alone.
And usually those are the type of people I tend to believe more. The ones that aren't wanting the notoriety for it.
I can't believe shit we say.
We're just spreading rumors. We're not starting them.
Yeah. Ghosts are real. Bigfoot's real.
So yeah, I mean, there is. I think.
Come on.
To date, it's probably the most credible, or one of the most credible sources. There's another film. And I can't remember. I think it was.
This is mayhem, by the way.
They're going to another continent of in the Himalayas. Did you see the one? I think it was a military helicopter, or a. They were flying over a mountain pass, and there was just plain, like fresh fallen snow, not a single.
And they had the footsteps.
And the big footprints through the snow.
I did see that. Yes.
Yeah.
And they followed them
for miles.
to like 18,000 feet.
Yeah.
And then they were like, whoa.
Yeah, and then because in these footprints, they could see them from the air. They were, and they I think they even analyzed the strides, and it was like, 40-inch strides or something like that. And it had to be a really tall person.
Way beyond a normal human being's foot stride.
Yeah, and I think they said the snow was, a few feet deep in that area too. So it'd have to take in a tall person to be able to to wade through that snow like that too. And I don't think that video had been debunked either. So there's a few compelling videos out there that kind of.
Well, and just the fact, to me anyway, just the fact that you have all these different nationalities, different tribes, thousands of miles apart, all somewhat coming up to the same basic explanation.
They all have a pretty similar story, and I think that's what lends a lot more toward it as well, because you got these people that really back in 100 years ago had no way of communicating with each other, and now they have similar stories. So it's pretty incredible.
Well, I mean, the Pacific Northwest is the most obviously the most famous for us. But you look at cultures all over the world. Indonesia, Russia, Australia, which is, there's our aborigines that go back, but pretty recently settled by a white man.
Yeah.
It was a prison island. It's just interesting to me that there's if you look at the Bering Land Bridge and Pangea and everything. You can't argue with evolution, and the fact that everything kind of took a similar timeline.
Well, talking about the Bering Land Bridge, that brings up another story or a possibility of what Bigfoot could be. Before we get into that, do we want to review our Sierra Nevada Bigfoot?
Oh yeah, I would like to, because this is pretty damn good. It's a barley wine, which I am not even 100% sure what a barley wine is. This is Bigfoot. Barley wine style ale by Sierra Nevada. It's from Chico, California, and also brewed in Mills River, North Carolina. It's a fucking strong beer, guys. It's a 9.6% alcohol by volume, which is a far cry above what we normally drink.
So on the back it says, extreme in the 80s and a force of flavor today. Bigfoot is a timeless beast of a beer, forever tracked for its enormous malt body and sheer hop intensity. Drink it fresh or cellar each year's expedition to unleash a world of new flavors over time. And I can definitely get the hop intensity. It's got the bitter hop.
It is, but it's not like a punch. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The Sasquatch was a little bit of a punch to the throat.
The grapefruit was, well, I'm getting the bitter hops on this, and then the Sasquatch was more sweet with the citrus.
This just has a cool ass label.
I do like it. Yeah,
it's a miner with a mule and Bigfoot peeking out of the trees. We'll show it on the video.
Oh yeah, and speaking of miners, so there's another. You're just asking about if you thought if it was a violent creature or not. There is a story of it. It says it's from 1924, and it's referred to as the Battle of Ape Canyon. And
this sounds like a movie.
Yeah. And it says that let's see here. There's a story of miners being attacked by a large hairy ape man that threw rocks onto their cabin roof from a nearby cliff after one of the miners allegedly shot one with a rifle. And this comes in from no, that's a different one. I was going to say that, but yeah. So in 1924, they said an ape was, or a ape man was throwing rocks at him.
there back in the old West days when Montana had just recently become a state. Montana became a state in 1889, and there were stories of the original railroads.
Yeah.
And they used to have like railroad camps, right? Like where guys would overnight, maintenance guys were, your workers were.
Yeah.
And they caught a juvenile Bigfoot named Jocko.
Really?
They named it Jocko.
Named it.
Yeah, they,
Is that where Jocko Willink got his name?
He looks very Yeti-like.
He does look like a Bigfoot.
Jocko, you're
a beast.
Stout motherfucker. But I honestly don't know where he got his name, but there was a juvenile supposed Bigfoot caught up in Montana. I believe it was near Livingston.
Okay.
And they named it Jocko. And they basically kept it as a railroad pet for...
Did he help them drive spikes or carry cross ties?
I think they just kept him chained up and like threw stuff at him. People are terrible. Like, we would fuck with anything.
That reminds me of a story. We'll have to do a whole nother episode on this on military history. There was a Polish army unit in World War II that had a pet bear as artillery unit, and the bear actually helped carry ammunition. Like, carried artillery shells.
It's a tough motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, it's a crazy story. We'll have to get into that. That deserves that because the guys they would drink beer and smoke cigarettes with them.
Oh Jesus!
Imagine a drunk bear.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're supposedly they had a pet railroad Bigfoot named Jocko, and
that's awesome.
It is, but it would also be like it's sad.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I'd rather not have a pet Bigfoot. I would like to have a friend Bigfoot.
Yeah, like Huck is my dog, but I think he's more my friend than he is.
Well, like Harry in the Hendersons, he could just come and go.
Yeah.
Like, hey Harry, how
great
you going?
fucking movie.
You know, it's like come visit. We'll have a barbecue.
Yeah.
Just don't take my deer heads off the wall,
Yeah.
like Harry did, and bury them in the backyard.
I did want to tell you guys a story. I don't know if you guys have ever seen videos online or on TV or whatever of the sound clips of Bigfoot.
Yeah, there's a few different
They're screams.
communication techniques that the screams, the grunts, the howls.
So I watched a video on I think it was Animal Planet years ago, and it was of these screams that were studied with their harmonics, their vocal range, whatever you want to call it. But they said that it was not producible in the human range.
Yeah.
Like human vocal cords cannot produce the same sounds. And as I was watching that, I was actually sitting with a dude who was my stepbrother at the time. My mom and his dad have since divorced. But his name was also Zach, by the way. And
what is it with you finding all these people, Zach, that
I don't know, man. We
kind of congregate together, huh?
We flock.
that Zach Baggins guy was in the news this week. I can't remember what it was for, but there was something.
Fabricating.
Oh, yeah.
Those stories, I'm sure. Motherfucker. You want to hear a funny story? Earlier today, I went to Walmart, and a lady turned to me and said, I was in the cheese section, and a lady said, "You're not Zach?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And she looked confused and said, "Your name is Zach?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, so is my son's, and you're not him." I said, "I'm definitely not your son."
Oh, man.
But that really did happen. That happened earlier today.
Oh,
I was buying shredded cheese to make fucking tortillas out of.
But I am, yeah.
She totally caught her off guard.
So you're talking about vocalizations.
Yeah, but Zach had told me as we were watching this show, and they were going through these recordings that they had, and the dude, straight shooter, honest person, he got kind of a weird look, and I was like, "What's up?" And he said, "I was camping with my cousins about a Great Falls, and we heard that same sound in the woods,
and
crazy. Nobody knew what it was."
Yeah.
And I believe the guy because he's not a liar.
Well, and talking about sounds, if you've ever seen, I think it was on the History Channel, or it might have been Discovery Channel, Les Stroud, the Survivor Man show. Yeah. That dude was on the up and up. You know, you hear the stories about like Bear Grylls and him going off and faking stuff in the woods.
Yeah, but in all honesty, I gotta give the guy the benefit of the doubt because I know he probably stayed in hotels and everything. But I watched that man on video drink Michelle Rodriguez's heated piss.
Well, I mean, I saw him squeeze liquid out of elephant shit and drink it.
Yeah,
too.
so if the guy wants to stay at a fucking Holiday Inn between filming,
that's fine with me.
Dude, you do you, bro. I give you the benefit of the doubt. You did whatever they showed on camera. I got mad respect for that.
Well, so going back to Les Stroud, though, he was famous on his Survivor Man show for, if you haven't seen it, he would take camera equipment and go out in the wilderness by himself and survive. And it was 7 days was his thing. He would pretend he was stranded somewhere, and it would be a different scenario every week.
Yeah, I had to survive it.
And but he would do all the filming alone, and he would actually be in the wilderness in the middle of nowhere by himself for a week. And he said there were several occasions filming in Canada and
Quebec,
Pacific Northwest. Guess he is Canadian, but he spent probably the majority of his life in the woods and in the wilderness.
Yeah,
and so he knows what a bear sounds like. He knows what a wolf sounds like. You know, and he said he would at times he heard vocalization from some sort of animal that he did not know what it was and he had never heard before. So you got something like that coming from a guy like him saying, I heard this noise from an animal, and it sounded like a language or a vocalization that was totally unidentifiable.
So
that kind of makes you think.
There's out in Washington, what's the base in Fairchild?
Yeah,
Air Force Base is outside of Spokane, Washington, and that's where Air Force SEER is, which is survival school.
I think they have different levels of it too. Like they have the pilot SEER training, and then they have like the soft SEER training.
Yeah, and it's guys who are pararescue, combat control, guys who are getting assigned to like the 24th STS, which is like the Air Force arm of JSOC, which is Joint Strategic Operations Command. It's the hardest of the hardcore from the Air Force side. They get assigned to that squadron, but oh, you all right, bud? So they all go through SEER, which is survival school, out at Fairchild Air Force Base, outside of Spokane. And I was overseas with a gentleman who was a retired Chief Master Sergeant, which is an Air Force E9, and his son was a SEER instructor. And a lot of the special operations units will get a SEER guy attached to them, and it's they just,
they're like continuation training, so they can continually hone their skills for survival and invasion.
So we were out in Afghanistan, and me and Roger, the guy who I'm talking about, we were down at Kandahar airfield, and his son just so happened to be deployed to Bagram, and his son caught a flight down on a day off and decided to just hang out with his dad. I mean, what a cool thing to hang out with your dad in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So we were chilling, just shooting the shit, and we all met his kid, and his kid was super nice guy, very cool, very very personable guy. And he told us about a thing that I had never heard of at the time, but I did research later on, how those guys would go up and they would kill a deer or kill a rabbit or whatever to have to survive, and they eat the meat, whatever. But many times out on Fairchild Air Force Base, which is a very large base, and they would go in there and they would be miles away, like where you could not get heavy equipment in. You couldn't, like, there's just no fucking way. But they would find pine trees that were uprooted.
Oh, yeah.
And then buried top first back in the ground. So the roots were the top sticking out.
Wow.
which he said was a Bigfoot thing, and I had never heard this. I'd never.
Like they're marking their territory.
But if you look it up online, and feel free to do this, it's a very common.
Find a tree pulled out of the ground and stuck back in the ground upside down.
And he said that there's not. These would be like 20 to 30 foot tall trees.
Okay, think of it this way though too. So, let alone the fact how hard it is to uproot a tree that is that size, but also if you've ever planted a tree, a 20 to 30 foot tall tree weighs hundreds of pounds. Like possibly even close to a ton. You would have to be a strong motherfucker to be able to first uproot that tree and then to be able to lift it and pick it up and replant
Flip it upside down.
Yeah.
And shove it where the sun don't shine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that takes some strength.
Yeah.
And they say a chimpanzee, to think about it this way, I'm 265 pounds. A chimpanzee is like at the biggest 180 pounds, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. And they are still 5 to 6 times stronger, they say, than
an adult human. Yeah.
So even though a chimp is smaller than me, he's 5 times stronger than me. Well, so now what if you got an 8 foot tall ape of some kind?
So
how strong is he?
A big bald testosterone motherfucker.
Yeah, he might be able to bench press 1,000 pounds and pull a tree out of the ground. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what they said. Like, there's no getting a tractor up there, and there's no, you're not gonna pack in with fucking shovels.
No,
but that's what they said.
How long would it take to dig a tree out of the ground with a shovel?
The guys that go through this are, they're special operators. They're the toughest motherfuckers.
Yeah, if you got one of the toughest guys on the planet that is nervous about being somewhere like that, I take a little bit of that with a little bit of hedons or whatever you want to call that. I mean,
you got to be aware of your surroundings, and those guys are more aware than anybody else. And if they got to say that, hey, this tree is upside down in the dirt.
What motivation do they have to?
Yeah, there's no reason to lie. These men have all gone through background checks and security clearances.
Yeah,
like there's no reason to fib.
Yeah. So I think that's a good spot to segue into. I guess this will be our final segment for the show, and one theory for Bigfoot that is actually, I think, very plausible is Bigfoot may actually be a known animal that is known to science.
Like a grizzly?
Not necessarily. No, not a grizzly. A actual primate that was thought to have went to extinct. Gigantopithecus. And that's a mouthful too, especially when you've been drinking.
A lot of letters in that.
Gigantopithecus. So this is actually a known primate, and it was discovered in Asia. And
the fossil record proves that this thing did exist.
They have
and may still. It coexisted with modern man.
Exactly,
which is the important point.
The common acceptance right now from science is that it went extinct somewhere around 300,000 years ago. But they say modern humans were around up to 1 million years ago or farther. So it did actually coexist with humans at some point. But as we know right now, Gigantopithecus was a large gorilla-like primate that...
What did they say, up to 9 feet tall?
They said 9 to 10 and a half feet tall.
It's a big bastard.
It was up to 1,200 pounds. So they say it was the size of a grizzly bear.
Like a Kodiak, though. Not an inland Yellowstone grizzly.
But
a big fucking grizzly.
So they say it looked like a cross between a gorilla and an orangutan because they think it had like a orangish brown fur, and that it was 10 feet tall, over 1,000 pounds, and that so they say the modern mountain gorilla, Congo gorilla like a silverback you see. Like a big one is 400 pounds. So imagine an ape-like gorilla that is 3 times the size of a modern gorilla.
Well, think about our stories about Andre the Giant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, but the thing is, though, too, that so this gorilla, this primate actually existed, and they found bones and fossils of this animal, so it really did exist, and it matches closely with DNA of modern orangutans. So they think modern orangutans is an offshoot of this primate, and
So something that evolved, not necessarily
something that
not something that we came from, but something that evolved.
well, there's a chart that I saw that and it showed
In almost a parallel.
Yeah, and I'll put this picture up there because I found a chart with this. You have gorillas and chimpanzees and bonobos that are like on the human branch of, like they say, of evolution, but they say orangutans and other primates are on a separate branch. Like they have enough diversity where they're a separate species, or not species,
Yeah.
but separate in their genetic diversity. And they said Gigantopithecus was on this branch with orangutans. And they say, so the species that spawned chimpanzees and gorillas and humans was one branch, and then Gigantopithecus did spawn off orangutans, but there's nothing to say that another branch of a humanoid-like primate could have spawned off of Gigantopithecus. And we was talking about the Bering Land Bridge before.
Yeah.
There's humans. They say that's how humans inhabited North America and all the way down to South America, as they came across the Bering Strait when it was during the Ice Age. And they're saying that these very large primates may have moved across and inhabited part of North America during the last Ice Age.
It's interesting when you look at the way horses evolved.
Yeah.
Horses originally came from here.
Yeah.
And they moved the other way towards Russia.
Yep.
And into Asia and down into Africa.
They actually went extinct here.
And then they came, and then the Spaniards brought them back.
So they went.
And that's the same way camels evolved too.
Yeah.
Camels originally are a North American animal, and then moved there, and then became extinct here.
Yeah. So to me, because they're, and the thing is though too, they say that the if you look at the fossils that they found of Gigantopithecus, they found like jaw bones and some teeth and some skull fragments. They haven't really found any lower extremity bones, so they really don't know the full anatomy. They're really kind of guessing, and they're saying that basically it was a giant gorilla or a giant orangutan that was, but they don't really know actually his physiology, how they looked. And
they know he was a big bastard.
They know because the jaws are absolutely huge on these things that they found, and they said based off of that jaw and skull structure, that's how big it would be.
Gigantopithecus would want us to eat some of his jerky.
Oh yeah, so if you've seen the jerky on there, you're messing with Sasquatch. We got the jacklings on there.
We got the jacklings. We got the original and the peppered.
So yeah, jacklings.
So we're gonna crack this open. I'm getting hungry.
Oh yeah, we'll have to. But so I mean, Gigantopithecus. It can either be him or an offshoot or an offspring of that species that has survived in the wilderness. I mean, they say it went extinct, but they've been finding animals all over the place that they thought that it was extinct.
Look at these motherfuckers.
Oh yeah, they think they're going to get a treat. But yeah, so they're finding animals all the time that they think have went extinct that are actually finding out that are still alive.
Yeah.
There's actually tales of, have you heard of the Tasmanian tiger?
I have.
And they say those went extinct a couple hundred years ago.
And Willem Dafoe shot one.
And they're saying that they might have found some of those alive still.
Well, it's like we were talking about the one episode about the grizzlies in Mexico.
Yeah.
Up on Baja Mountain.
So, I mean, I think, too, scientists sometimes really want to get in too big of absolutes and say, hey, this is how it is, and, like, this is for a fact. But sometimes maybe there is a little bit of gray area, and there is a little bit of area where they may not be 100% certain. So I don't think...
You never can say that you know something about the wilderness.
Yeah.
Because you can't be everywhere all the time.
Well, and Mother Nature has a really good track record of making you, when you think you have it figured out, of really throwing a curveball and stuff.
I was reading the other day, there's a tortoise down on the Galapagos Island.
Yeah.
That they thought had been extinct for like 112 years. And then they found one.
Well, even if you look back several years ago of the coelacanth, it was a fish, but they thought it was...
They caught one, yeah.
They found fossils of it, and they thought it had been dead for millions of years. And
they caught one.
And then they caught one that was alive.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, I think there's always room in science that... Don't be so arrogant and think you're absolutely right because there's a possibility you'd be wrong.
I have to say that I believe in a small but present breeding population of primate in North America, in places like Kamchatka, and some areas of India, Nepal, Tibet.
Yeah. And it may not be the Bigfoot that you see depicted in movies or in pictures or whatever, but it may be a large primate of some kind that has had fleeting glimpses of that people, you have the telephone game when you play in elementary school where you start talking and one person passes to the other and how much it changes over time.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, that's really where I stand on it. I think there's a high probability that there is an undiscovered primate somewhere that has been misidentified as a Bigfoot.
It's not that far-fetched.
I don't think so at all.
And like I said, man, you think about how sparsely populated a lot of the western and specifically the mountain areas of North America are.
Yeah.
When you get down into the swamps of southern North America, when you get into areas of Russia, Asia, China, whatever, Mongolia, man, there ain't nobody there.
No.
You get down into Indonesia where it's thick ass, jungle swamp.
Yeah.
It's not that far fetched that there's something there that you just have never seen, but it's a large enough population to keep the breed going, but a small enough to stay undetected.
Exactly. And I think too, people get too quick to make these absolute judgments. I think we always need to make sure we keep an open mind because it's easy to be wrong. You can be wrong on different things at different times, and that not just a normal person, but so-called experts are wrong all the time. So I mean, I wouldn't necessarily hold true to anybody that says that this is an absolute why a thing is the way they say it is, because people get proved wrong all the time.
So, essentially, don't know that you're right. Think that you're right, but don't know that you're right.
Well, was it what Ronald Reagan said? Trust but verify. I mean, always be seeking the truth, seek facts. Always be
and keep an open mind.
Keep an open mind and do your own research. People always want to take.
And if you're curious, by all means, man, grab a backpack and go explore.
Yeah.
Who knows what you'll find? Who knows what you'll take a picture of? The very worst thing that'll happen is you'll be exposed to something you're not used to.
Well, and like we were saying before about the cameras and stuff. Shit, go for a hike and stick a GoPro in your head. You never know what's gonna. You never know what you're gonna see. Yeah. And you may find that evidence that science has been looking for. There's always something out there to discover, and I mean, if you look at some of the science books or articles, there's biologists finding new species all the time still.
Do you know who's never gotten a DUI?
Who?
Bigfoot.
That's right.
Be like Bigfoot. Have a plan. Don't get drunk and don't get caught.
Don't get caught driving. Yeah, don't get caught. Make sure you're undiscovered.
That's terrible advice. Just don't drive drunk, guys.
Yeah, make sure you have a designated driver. Make sure you have a plan going forward. If you're going to be out searching for Sasquatch, make sure you have a backup plan.
Yeah. Don't get squatchy. Guys, this has been a fun one. I know it's kind of disorganized.
Well, we had another episode planned that we were going to do.
Yeah, this one.
And we kind of just winged this one again. Like, we kind of segued off the ghost episode last week. And but I think it was fun.
Yeah.
We was able to throw it together pretty quickly, I think. And
we did some acting.
Yeah, hopefully you liked our skit at the beginning of the episode. That was our first time we tried that.
That was really Bigfoot.
Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed the episode tonight. We had a lot of fun doing it. There's a lot of stuff we covered. There's probably still more that we could dig up and do a whole nother show on. So if you have any suggestions or have any stories you want to share with us, drop us a comment. You can find us on all of our different social medias. We got our Twitter, our Facebook, our TikTok. We've been putting videos on here lately. And then you can always find us on YouTube and all the major podcast players for the audio. We appreciate it.
Let's not do anything that drudges up my nightmares next time. Guys, be safe and have a good night.
Have a good one.